That was Empty by Ludovico Technique, and joining us from his underground lair with the amazing candelabras in the background, please welcome back Ben
I
V
know, right?
of
It's pretty good.
Ludovico Technique. How you doing, my friend? Welcome back to the program.
I'm I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, John. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
I do.
Hey, so how you been? Before we even get the album, like, what have you been up to? How's things in Ben's world?
I mean, they've been going great. Like I get to express my music and release it to the world, and there couldn't be an existence any more enriched and fulfilled.
Fuck yeah! Spoken like a true artist there, my friend. So let's talk about this a little bit because I remember the very first time that we spoke. You were unsure whether you were even going to compile these songs into an album to get it out there. You were very happy with just writing a song and then putting it out there, especially given that you're a visual artist and like to do all the music and everything like that. That changed a little bit the last time we spoke, and now Haunted People is out for the world. So, how are you feeling now that this project is compiled and out there for the listening public?
I feel like that this chapter. Well, so for those that are watching or listening to this, or essentially, I released a bunch of singles. This album had mostly come out as singles, kind of once per month, and the whole thing is finally out as the album now. So people can buy just the whole thing, or they could stream the whole entire thing in a collection, so to speak, the album version. And I think that like now I get to kind of enjoy that aspect. So right at this very moment, I'm probably feeling much like most people that you may come across or interview that are musicians where they're just releasing an album. So that's kind of probably more along the lines right now. Like I'm just wanting anyone who had been turned off by the idea of singles, now they're finally like, okay, finally, it's like the album's out. Finally, I can now listen to it too. And I'm like, I'm kind of being like, okay, everybody, all the people that didn't like singles, the album is now out, so you can enjoy it too. And they're like, okay, finally, all right, I'll enjoy it now. It's an album. It's a whole album. You know.
Yeah. Cora, do you want to jump in here
My
after?
question is completely off topic, so if you have a follow up, go for it.
No, so I was just curious. When as you're putting this together and sequencing everything like that, I know, like as we mentioned, with doing singles, you're very into doing the whole package as a single, right? You don't want to just like have everything out there. You have your song, you have your video concept, you have the visuals to that, the single art and everything with that. How were you able to like? I guess I'm interrupting myself to kind of like break up my questions. Did you find that doing this as a whole cohesive project was any harder, any easier, or did it kind of just fall in line to what you've been doing this entire time?
Well, so I think what you're sort of asking is like concept album versus like singles that would work well together, like individual songs that work well together as an album.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the way that I've been writing in like the last year or two is very like um, encapsulated in each song is a realized sort of expression of emotion. It's not a continuation of some other more grand thing. It's like each song has to be its own, has to be able to stand alone in either a sea of nothingness or a sea of camaraderie amongst all the other songs. And
Mm-hmm.
really, I think that I it's kind of like they're all really family members to each other, but also individuals that have their own identity independently of each other. So I think that I'll probably, unless I'm inspired to do a concept album in the future, I'll probably continue releasing singles and then compiling them for an album. So I already have plans that I already have like I'm working on the next material at the moment. It's not finished, but for like let's say 2023. So we're in what September right now of
Mm-hmm.
2022. I'm looking forward that by 2023 I can start the cycle all over again, releasing new singles. I think it keeps people excited. It keeps me excited. And I think that being excited about music, especially when the world is so filled with not very exciting things, or not things that you should be excited about in a negative way, like things that people are excited about in a completely anxious ridden bad way. I think that having something to look forward to, new music all the time, I mean, sign me up. Oh, right. Yeah, well, I'll get to it. I love doing it. So
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought that up. I mean, we have previously talked about in the past how in this day and age, right, whatever works for the artist is really the best way to go, right? And you found, what works for you. But yeah, it's interesting you brought that up as far as, these songs are family members of each other. It wasn't like a big concept, because as I was listening to this and I was kind of like formulating these questions and everything like that, I thought about that because even with most albums, I would probably say like majority of the albums, people aren't thinking about or like the artists aren't thinking about how it's going to fit in this big old, like, all of the way on the vinyl or anything like that. Some will, but for the most part, I feel like the artists are focusing on the songs and how those songs serve each other and how the songs just in a vacuum itself work, and then putting them all together. So I feel like in that instance, it was interesting you brought that up, because I feel like you have been doing that the entire time. It's just been over a longer course of time and not with the express idea of like, these will be on an album these days. You just been, these are the songs that we're going to do and put them out, and they're going to be their own little universe, their own little anthology.
what's interesting is, if someone listens to a song like Burn Everything, where I'm like screaming and it's like, angry, aggressive vocals, they might talk to someone who listens to a song like Dreaming that has like a weird time signature and stuff and be like, that's not even, I don't know, like, I think people know it's the same band, but at the same time, like, they have different sort of experiences. To some people, I think that we're this sort of band, and to some other people, we're this sort of band. And I've heard people talk about, I mean, it's interesting when you read comments from different places in the world, and like just across time and space of the internet, and you hear what people's takes are of what you do, and you know how you feel about what you do. But because you do release things like, as let's say, singles, and maybe someone missed 4 of them and they only heard, so if someone, let's put it this way, you just played Empty. Now, if someone had only ever heard Empty, they might think, oh, well, here's this idea I have of Ludovico Technique. I just heard this song by them called Empty. But then if you play, let's say, I don't know, like Noise Is Gone, or like Becoming Numb, or anything, like, they'll be like, oh, is this even, I wouldn't say, I don't know, if you'll have to tell me, would you say it's not the same band? I mean, you tell me what you think.
Personally, I think it works all together. I think that all the songs are different, right? And they have a different feel to them. And maybe it's just because of the instruments, maybe it's just because of the voice. But I feel like if I had gone into this not knowing that these were singles over a long period of time, I would say, yep, that is a band that, this is a cohesive project that works from start to finish. That's my take on it.
Right.
Right. And even when you take songs like Silence, where your vocals are going through the vocoder and everything, it's still very much you. It's got your cadence to it. You can still tell that it's you, but it is a very, very different world being crafted by that song. So each song is its own little world within the same solar system. If I'm going to go ahead and use space references here for some reason, I'm not sure why I'm doing that. I like space. I like galaxies.
It's like a digital, it's like a digitized fingerprint. Like, it's still human, but then it's into this world. I love that song. Yeah. I mean, and then that's an excellent song to bring up, because I think if someone listened to Silence from this album, they'd be like, what is this? But then if they listen to, I don't know, Haunted right next to Silence, they'd be like, what is this? I like that, though. I think that some people, and I've been like this in my life at some point, they want things to be the same, and it creates this fuzzy sort of maybe environment for them, like a little ecosystem of sameness that they could thrive in. So if every band releases the same song over and over again, they're like, yes, I know who I am in the world, and I am content with this, and I don't feel challenged or threatened by anything new, anything different. And I think that when I write music, I want to continue being the artist that I feel that I am, like, as far as like who I am, staying true to what I feel. But you have to explore things sometimes. You have to. You have to keep moving. and that's like our heart, our blood pumping inside of us is movement and beat and these things and this pulsation, pulsing, and you have to just keep moving. So yeah, I don't really
Yeah.
know exactly where I was going with all that, but we'll just have it.
Sorry, we could let
That's
like
okay.
Cori get in here, and cause she
Oh.
was gonna change the subject to begin with.
Yeah, I'm changing the subject because so there is one subject that everyone knows that I love to talk about, probably more than anything else on the planet, and that is vinyl. You have a variety of different physical options out there. You've got the CDs, you've got the tapes, and you've got a vinyl. And this is your first time doing vinyl, if I'm not wrong. And so my opening question with talking about your experience in pressing vinyl is, first, so there's like this cult and this emotion that goes behind with vinyl collectors is like we all get very, very emotionally involved with our vinyl. So I want to know how it felt for you hearing your music on vinyl the first time when you got your test presses in and you got to hear the sound, because it is different from anything digital like a CD.
It's very true. So yeah, for this release, we were doing, it's very easy for artists. I think today, I think typically most artists, especially underground artists, might only be releasing something digital on Spotify, Bandcamp, all that, and that makes sense for some releases. But this time, we kind of wanted to do something a little special and put it on physical formats, which also included like a cassette. So a lot of the fans that already might know there's like a limited edition run of cassettes. And I think if people are like, hey, oh, cassettes, like, is that a thing? It's like, no, I don't think it's really that much of a thing. I think it's like a collector's item. So when it comes to the vinyl, when I was listening to the test press of the cassette, we all remember what cassettes sound like, and it sounded like a cassette. It's very unique. Like it's nice. It is what it is. It's cassette, and it sounds that way. They're these very beautiful blue shells. I autograph them. I don't actually. I'd have to look at the inventory, but I don't know how many we even have left. There might be not many left. But the vinyl. Okay, this is a whole other thing. This is the audiophile sort of the beautiful world of vinyl that I've been introduced into by doing a release on vinyl, and hearing my test presses. So for anyone watching that doesn't know, before you approve the album, you get the company sends you some test pressing to kind of approve, make sure everything's okay. And yeah, when I listened to it, I thought, wow, this really does add something to this experience. This isn't just for show. Like it really is like this experience, and I did appreciate it, and I did really get into it. And I think that it is a viable. I think it's like this world that when you do get into it, you could see how being able to make that connection with music is a thing that has been lost in this day and age. It's so lost, and people that are into vinyl, they're trying to kind of reconnect those things that for a very long time human beings had with music. I think it's great. So I think that getting into that world, learning about what vinyl people care about, that it's not just this like gimmick. It's not, it's not. I actually, going through this experience, I could tell you, I don't think it's some throwback fad at all or anything. Like I think that some people might not be in the vinyl world and they say vinyl, what's that? Like, why would they do that? It's like, well, I could tell you, learning about people and that are into vinyl and what they're about. I think it's actually kind of deep. It's kind of very artistic, and it's very human, and it's very like meaningful, and I can appreciate that. So.
Awesome. John, you look like you have something to say.
No, not a question. I was going to let you take the next one. I was just going to add a comment on there that, yeah, I'm not really a cassette guy either, but the the shell of that blue shell of the cassette is so gorgeous that it just looks good, right? So even if you get the vinyl so that you can listen to that, and then you just get the cassette so that you can put that on your wall as a collector's item.
And for those wondering, I have changed the orb to be close to the blue, so the orb is on brand. And I actually completely forgot what I was going to say next. Damn it. I really need to start writing down my questions, John.
Every day, just,
Every day. I know. I forget what I was going to say all the freaking time. So the vinyl experience. Oh, actually, I did just have one more. Completely off topic again. You've had your second song hit 1 million streams. So
I
Deeper
did.
Into You just hit 1 million streams on Spotify. It's your second song. So, like, first of all, congrats on that. It's a huge accomplishment. And how does that feel knowing that you are reaching, with these singles, I think you're reaching so many more people with this particular strategy. And how does that feel to know that your music is, with this level of consistency that you've had, is reaching more fans and reaching more people?
I think that so we had a song hit 1 million, I think it was last year in 2021. It's called Absence. A lot of fans probably know it, that particular one. And then so this, I just saw earlier today that a song Deeper Into You hit 1 million. So that's our second song on Spotify to hit 1 million streams. And I think that, like, and actually that Haunted from this album is at 500,000, I think. I really am blown away that when you're like this independent underground goth artist or whatever it is that you would want to call this, Ludovico Technique, people have different favoritisms and biases and stuff like that. And so I make the music that I want to make. And so people often, they'll be like, hey, what do you call this? And I'm like, well, why don't you listen to it? You let me know what you call it. And then that's right for you, So when it comes to hitting like 1 million streams, I just want to thank every single person that has been one of those million, because for me to know that it's been listened to that many times, I think that really, like, I think that it speaks to the fact that I know that I'm doing what I should, I'm doing in life what I should be doing, because doing this has led to things not only like that, but then this great deal of like being able to express yourself artistically in this manner and have that many people listen to it, and and those things combined just really reinforce the idea that when you have a passion, you have got to follow that passion, no matter what it is. So for me, it was making weird goth music, right? But for you, dear listener out there, it could be anything. So follow that passion, because, if you want to make cupcakes in life, maybe you'll sell 1 million cupcakes or whatever, like you just do your thing, or you'll interview 1 million bands like you all, like, so stuff like that.
I think that is a goal for John and I. 1 million each, right, John?
Yeah,
million bands each.
We're getting close, I think, but we still got a long way to go.
We're getting close.
But no, I think that's a great thing, because especially over the last couple of years, right, with all the turmoil that a lot of us have gone through. I mean, just doing that thing that gets you up every day, that you don't feel like you're working, or you're putting your mind to something constructive and putting yourself into something. I mean, that was something that I was having a real struggle with at the beginning of COVID, and now I'm here, right? And you have had your trials and tribulations, and now you're doing this, and you've got your music out, and people are listening to it and responding to it. And so sometimes it takes a while for people to find that, but yeah, I agree, and want to tell people out there that just find what it is that gets you really passionate and inspired, and fucking do it. And look at Ben. That's why.
There you go.
Precisely.
I mean, good. It's good enough for me.
So Cori, may I pop in here with a question, please?
Absolutely.
So I generally like to hesitate about asking artists about their next steps and newer stuff after they've released an album and stuff like that. But I know with you, a lot of these songs have been in the work for a little while, and you mentioned that you have more stuff coming. So I'm not going to ask you any specifics or anything like that, because Haunted is, just brand new. But what type of stories, what type of themes, what type of things do you want to tackle and pursue in your creative endeavors to start gearing up for your next set of releases?
The rock and metal scene has really like kind of embrace, like given us a good welcome, you know, and I appreciate that. So I think for the next releases, there are some things that I'm going to incorporate that are kind of, um, I would say paying some level of homage to that genre in a more sort of direct way. And so if that means that some of the drums are like more even metal drums sometimes or things like that, like these are things I'm excited about because we have been supported by this scene quite a bit. Like we have been very welcomed, and I want to continue that relationship with that fan base that comes from that background of like that scene. And so that these are the plans, is just to continue on with creating music that is genuine. You know, no one's going to listen. I mean, how often do you put on music and you're like, I mean, it's kind of good, but like at the same time, I could tell that I feel like they're just going through the motions maybe, or kind of faking it, or like whatever. I don't know. I mean, we try to stay positive around here, I know, but at the same time, I mean, there is a lot of music out there that maybe we want more from. And so the one thing I could say is I want to always be able to give that to. I want to be able to express myself genuinely. I'll just leave it at that. And so for this next material, it's what it's going to be. I think one time you had me on here and I said, look, if one day you just kind of never, like, whatever happened to Ben from Ludovico, it's probably either because I started feeling better, like mentally or something, and I stopped making weird, crazy goth music, and it's just like lived peacefully in the woods or something, like, and it's like, oh, he was cured, you know, good. Or but I'm here to say it hasn't happened yet. So next album, here we go. All right, you know.
Well, I don't want to say, oh no, like we're mad that you're not cured or anything like that, but I think having more music in the future is a good thing that a lot of people are going to be happy about.
Well, yeah, and like you say that it's obviously it's an outlet for you to process your emotions and your experiences, but at the same time, it's an outlet for other people who find your music and listen to it and use it as a catharsis of their own to filter their own emotions and their own experiences through. So while, I mean, being sad is never fun, you're using yours in such a constructive, you're using your emotions in a constructive way and in, in a way that actually helps people, which not a lot of people can say.
You know, and I'll admit that I don't, whenever you're expressing things that, you know, like when I'm done writing a song and I've brought this up before, and you're kind of like, you're about to send it out and you're like, hey, you know, there's no going back from here. Like once you write these words and you express these feelings and you put it out in the world, they're going to know, they're all going to know I'm crazy, you know, or whatever. And I think that's kind of it's freeing, and it's a bit liberating. And then when you see that other people that come from maybe different places in life and they haven't had the opportunity to make friends with people who have similar feelings about the world, when they listen to things like that and they go, wow, I'm not alone. That's all I needed. I just needed to know that I was not alone and it could get me through one more day. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that I purposely create music to, I don't know, with this agenda of being the savior of any sort. I definitely just write music that I feel comes from places that I want to express. And then I think what happens, like I said, is that people see that there are others out there that have similar feelings, and just having one person that feels something like you do could be all the difference between just feeling a little bit more sane or a little bit more like just accepted in this world that we're in. And so that's like, I love doing music knowing that if I'm willing to put out the thing, like say the things that I feel inside, and overcome those hesitations that one might have to release, these feelings, like vulnerable feelings or whatever, that that will make a difference to people who don't have, maybe they're not in some place where they can make friends that feel, like I said, the connections with people that, they might be all alone in the world. And so they have music, and they have not just Ludovico Technique, but tons of artists out there that we all love. So yeah.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is just, that thing that we always say a lot that sometimes gets watered down, but it really is so powerful. Just, you are not alone, whether it's one song, one artist, one book, one movie, whatever it is, just that extra feeling. Because a lot of us walk around with not feeling that we can't say or talk about any things because we don't think other people will get it. And hearing even just one person, or if it's through a song, feel that, right, and have those same emotions or those same thoughts or those same feelings, I think is really, really important. I know you don't do it like on purpose, right? You said you don't have an agenda doing that, but the fact that you're doing what you want to do, right, I think people see that exactly like what you were saying, that genuine, honest songwriting that people can connect with. And I think that that's so important for people to have in the world.
Well, because it's also, John, it's not perfect either. I have a song called I Was, where literally the chorus is like, before I knew what I was slowly dying. Before I knew what I was gone. And, philosophically, what that is essentially is me saying, hey, before any of us really know why we're here, we die and go away, and we'll never know. And how depressing is that, right? So it's not perfect. I write these crazy things, and then I hope, like, when I put them out in the world, if someone else hears that, they think, yeah, I think things like that. And if other people think that, then maybe I'm not so weird. So it's not a perfect science, like expressing things that might come off as just depressing. It's not always a perfect, it can get, it could get vulnerable. It could get existentially depressing. Like, I try to just express these things hoping that, like we were just talking about, if someone does connect with it, it could be meaningful. I hope that, well, I mean, I don't ever really write about anything like I try not to use much profanity in my music. I try to write things more like, I don't know, the way that like classical literature sort of, like, I don't know.
That.
I mean, yeah, like maybe we'll have to talk about that one day. In the future, we could like kind of prepare more for it, but like just letting people that might not know about Ludovico Technique that are watching right now is like, I'm sort of into more, I don't know, like if Mary Shelley were to write lyrics, or more like not the time period. Like I don't write lyrics like thy, like I'm walking down thy road or anything like that. Like I don't personally write like that. I know artists that do, but I just try to at least have like more of some level of refined characteristics to writing. Now, that's not me saying anything bad about artists who say profanity. I don't have an opinion about that. That's bad by any means. I just think that for what I'm trying to do, there's an element of like timelessness that I'm trying to kind of tap into, that if I was just like dropping like F-bombs everywhere, it might not have the same timelessness, just at least in my opinion. But the music I listen to, yeah, I mean, there's F-bombs everywhere, John.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm responsible for most of them.
Right, exactly.
Cori, do you want to get in here? I'm looking at my notes that I prepared, Cori, and Ben has already, within our conversation, answered most of the questions that I already had.
Well, you stole my last question, so yeah, you stole my last question, so rude. And I can't ask the dinosaur question because we've already asked that one. So actually, no, I do have one more. Looking towards the future, since John brought it up, I know that in previous interviews, when it came to like rock and metal, you've mentioned before seeing like just using guitars and drums and bass as kind of limiting. So you use strings and piano and a lot of these other elements in your music. What are some ones that you're looking forward to maybe experimenting with in the creation of the next album, even if it doesn't make it onto the album, just something you're looking forward to giving a try that you haven't yet?
I guess like it's weird. It's like in the songwriting process, just to let any of your viewers know, like, so sometimes I'll write music where I come up with a vocal melody and like the song Haunted, and so I'm haunted by shadows of the past. Like I wrote that part of the entire song first, and then I had the music, I wrote the drums and the guitars and all that afterwards. Or certain songs, like I might write the music first and then the lyrics and the heart, like the vocal arrangement comes second. So when it comes to things that I get excited about for future songs, see, I guess that's more Corey, honestly. I think that would be like, so you hear a lot about bands sort of going into the studio together, being locked in some sort of old converted house that's now a recording studio, and then they're just like locked in there for a month until they write these songs together and like kind of come out with this experience of either having struck gold or kind of maybe struck out that time, you know. And for me, because every song that I write is sort of, I guess maybe that locked like into that little world for those moments. I couldn't say that for the next 6 songs or 12 songs or whatever an album's worth, I guess like 8 to 12 songs, that I'm going to be using bagpipes or something, right? Like, so like, or whatever, like I'm not going to just pick, but I think that for when it comes to like what I'm most excited about is just knowing this. Here's what I'll say. Took a lot of rambling to get to the gold here, I think. Having released Haunted People and having been shown, and even by you here at Pulse of the Maggots and KNOTFEST, all this stuff, having been shown that all of these different types of songs that I put out have a place in this community, has shown me that there are no limits if it's in like essentially what I'm trying to say is that when I go to continue to write music, one thing I can say, I don't know if I'll see some bagpipes on the wall or some sort of like whatever. I think the question you're asking is like a particular instrument, right? But what I'll say is this: what I know from already spending the last year, in this community and doing this, is that whatever it is that comes is going to be embraced. If it's genuine and it's rocking and it comes from the heart, I know that there are good people here that are going to genuinely embrace it for what it is. So that's what I'll say about that.
I think that is
Excellent.
the best place to leave it, everybody, because, like I said, Ben, everything else that I had, you have already asked and answered. So congratulations on the compilation of this album, Haunted People, getting out there in front of everybody. Y'all, it is out now. Go pick it up. Go order that gorgeous cassette. Go order the vinyl and have yourself an experience. Ben, is there anything else that you want to say to the listeners, either now or in the future, who are watching this or listening to their music?
Thank you for all of your support. I do actually truly appreciate it. And thanks to KNOTFEST and the Pulse of the Maggots and to you, John and Corey. I appreciate it immensely. I do.
You're very welcome. We're happy to do it. Everybody, this has been Ludovico Technique. Go pick up that album. Mazza has the link for it in the chat. And Ben, I'm sure that we'll see you around the bend one of these days in the future again.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Take it easy. Have a good one, my friend.